Dr. Zithrax had spent 47 cycles studying the peculiar species from the third planet. His research chamber aboard the Galactic Concordance Observation Station hummed with holographic displays, each showing different aspects of human warfare, chemical propellants, kinetic projectiles, crude fusion devices. Primitive, all of it. Laughably primitive. They still use explosives, his colleague Vartine chittered, her mandibles clicking with amusement. Controlled chemical reactions. Like the Vorkash did 12,000 cycles ago, before they discovered plasma compression. Zithrax nodded, his sensory stalks waving in agreement. The humans were an anomaly, a species that had somehow achieved faster-than-light travel while still relying on technology that most civilized races had abandoned millennia ago. Their nuclear weapons were particularly amusing, splitting atoms when any competent species would simply manipulate quantum foam for exponentially greater yield. The Concordance had been observing Earth for 73 cycles, ever since humanity's first stumbling FTL test had triggered their detection grids. Protocol demanded non-interference until a species reached specific technological benchmarks. Humanity was close, perhaps another decade of cycles, and then they would receive the invitation to join the galactic community. But first, the Concordance needed to understand them. Especially their baffling attachment to outdated warfare. "I've compiled my final report," Zithrax announced, transmitting the data to the Central Archive. Threat assessment, negligible. Their weapons rely entirely on Newtonian physics and basic chemistry. Any Concordance patrol vessel could sterilize their entire system without sustaining damage. Vartine accessed the report, her compound eyes scanning through decades of collected intelligence. "You've documented everything? Their missiles, their kinetic weapons, their nuclear arsenal?" "Everything they've shown us," Zithrax confirmed. "Which is everything they have. Humans are remarkably transparent. They broadcast their military capabilities constantly, in their entertainment media, their academic journals, even their public military demonstrations. There are no secrets with this species." What neither of them knew was that 300 meters below Earth's surface, in a facility that existed on no map, General Sarachin stood before a machine that bent the laws of physics into submission. "Final test in 30 seconds, the lead scientist announced, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. The device designated Project Erebus occupied a chamber carved from solid bedrock, its surface a lattice of exotic matter and quantum processors that had taken humanity 60 years to develop. 60 years of absolute secrecy, hidden behind the smokescreen of conventional weapons programs and public military posturing. "You understand what this means if it works," Chen said quietly to the assembled team. "Everything changes." She thought about the alien observers humanity had detected 15 years ago, lurking at the edge of the solar system. The signals had been subtle, but Earth's deep space arrays had caught them. The analysts had concluded the obvious: humanity was being watched, studied, evaluated. So humanity had given them a show. Conventional weapons tests, nuclear demonstrations, kinetic bombardment exercises, all carefully orchestrated to paint a picture of a species still crawling through the violent adolescence of chemical and atomic warfare. Meanwhile, the real work happened in places like this. Initiating quantum cascade, the scientist announced. The device activated with no fanfare, no dramatic hum of power. Reality simply flexed. A sphere of absolute darkness materialized in the center of the chamber, perfectly contained within electromagnetic fields. It wasn't darkness in the conventional sense, it was the absence of everything. Spacetime itself had been compressed into a singularity no larger than a marble, contained and controlled. "Vacuum collapse is stable," someone reported. "We have weaponized zero-point energy." Chen allowed herself a small smile. While the aliens catalogued humanity's guns and bombs, human scientists had been unraveling the fundamental code of the universe. The breakthrough had come from quantum research, from studying the spaces between atoms where infinite energy lurked, waiting to be harvested. Project Erebus was the first practical application, a weapon that could create controlled singularities, tearing holes in reality itself. But it was far from the only secret. In orbit, disguised as a communications satellite, Project Phantom waited, a ship capable of phasing between dimensions, invisible to conventional sensors. In the Pacific, beneath kilometers of water, Project Leviathan tested gravitational manipulation, capable of generating artificial gravity wells that could crush ships or deflect projectiles without ever being seen. And deep in the lunar far side, Project Oracle had just achieved the impossible, limited precognition through quantum entanglement, allowing humanity to see 3 seconds into the future with 70% accuracy. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission," an aide interrupted Chen's thoughts. "The aliens are making contact. Official first contact protocols. They're sending a delegation." Chen nodded slowly. "How long until they arrive?" 6 months. "Then we have 6 months to decide how much we reveal." She looked at the contained singularity, still stable, still perfect. "Prepare the cabinet briefing. The president needs to make a choice." Aboard the observation station, Zithrax received the authorization to initiate first contact. He felt a flutter of excitement. Meeting a new species was always momentous, even ones as technologically backward as humanity. "We should offer them defense contracts," Vartine suggested. "Their manufacturing capabilities are impressive, even if their weapons are obsolete. They could produce basic hull plating and simple projectile weapons for our security forces." "An excellent idea," Zithrax agreed. "It would give them purpose, help them feel valued in the Concordance." Neither of them noticed the anomaly in their sensor logs, a brief distortion in quantum foam near Mars, lasting less than a nanosecond. Their instruments weren't designed to detect it. Why would they be? No species still used quantum manipulation for stealth. It was too advanced for primitives and too obsolete for anyone else. But humanity, developing in isolation, had skipped several thousand cycles of conventional technological evolution. They had leapfrogged directly from gunpowder to quantum mechanics, from nuclear fission to zero-point energy, precisely because they hadn't known what was supposed to come next. In the Oval Office, President Morrison reviewed the options with her Security Council. "We can reveal everything," the Secretary of Defense argued. "Show them we're not to be underestimated." "Or we maintain the deception," Chen countered. "Let them think we're primitive. See how they treat us. Learn about them while they believe they're learning about us." The president was quiet for a long moment, considering the weight of the decision. Humanity stood at a threshold, about to step onto the galactic stage. How they appeared in that first moment would shape their destiny for generations. "We show them the guns and the missiles," she finally decided. "We let them feel superior. And we watch. We listen. We learn everything we can about how the galaxy really works." She smiled, a predator's smile that her ancestors would have recognized. "And if they prove to be friends, we eventually share our secrets. But if they prove to be threats..." She glanced at the classified report on Project Erebus. "They'll learn that humanity's greatest weapon was never the ones we were willing to show." 6 months later, when the Concordance delegation arrived with their offers of assistance and guidance, they found exactly what they expected: a species armed with chemical rockets and atomic weapons, eager and grateful for contact with their technological superiors. They never suspected that the humans greeting them with such humble enthusiasm could, if necessary, unmake reality itself. And humanity preferred to keep it that way.